Hey there, my name's Pastor Blake Moore. Thanks so much for checking out one of our latest messages online. And we know that you will be blessed, encouraged and inspired as you watch this message today. Thanks for checking out one of our resources, and we would love to meet you in person very soon. God bless. Good morning, church. Obviously, I'm not in person this morning, but this weekend I'm in Wollongong visiting my sister and my brother-in-law, Grant, and my parents as Grant continues his treatment for brain cancer. And I just want to thank many people in our congregation who have asked how Grant is going, have said they've been praying for Grant and Cherie, and I really deeply appreciate that. And so I will be back amongst you next weekend in person. The story is told of a lady who was very distraught because her pet cat died, and her cat's name was Homer. And she called the local Baptist church and rang up the local church and the pastor there to say, hey, would the pastor be interested in doing a funeral for her cat? And obviously the pastor said, look, we don't do funerals for cats, but maybe you should call the Presbyterian church down the road and see if they actually conducted funerals for cats. And of course the Presbyterian church said they didn't, and so she rang the Methodist church and again, to her disappointment, discovered that the Methodist church don't do funerals for cats. And so in complete frustration, she calls back the Baptist church and speaks to the minister again, and she was so frustrated, and she said to the pastor, it's not like I'm looking for something for nothing. I mean, I was more than willing to pay for the funeral for my cat. In fact, I was going to pay up to $10,000 for you to do the funeral for the cat. Well, immediately the pastor interrupted her and said, oh, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you tell us that your dearly departed Homer was a Baptist? Of course we'll do the funeral. It's been interesting, isn't it, what money and what influence money has on people. And it's that time of year again, church, when the church talks about money. And why does the church talk about money? Well, because Jesus talked more about money than heaven and hell combined. And let me tell you today that money talks. Money talks, and in fact, that's the title of our short 2-week series, Money Talks. Do you know that money is talking to you right now? Do you realize that money is talking to your family right now? Money is talking in your life. Money talks and says a whole lot of stuff in our lives. I know that some of you listen to Dave Ramsey's podcasts and videos, and Dave Ramsey is a money expert and a podcaster and an influencer, and he has some great quotes like this. A typical millionaire lives in a middle-class home, drives a 2-year-old or older paid-for car, and buys blue jeans from Walmart. Money is 80% behavior, 20% knowledge. It's what you do, not what you know. He goes on, someone who never invests money will never have any. If you buy a $28,000 car, in 4 years, it will be worth about $11,000. Act your wage. You see, when we talk about money as a church, or more importantly, when Jesus talked about money in the Gospels, in the New Testament, he was primarily talking about our heart. About your heart. Because Jesus knows that above all things, money often talks and speaks about what's inside a person's heart. The Bible is full of wisdom about money. And in turn, the Bible is also full of warnings about money. Have you ever heard the term cash is king? Cash is king. Do you remember Farouk in the movie, the famous Australian movie, The Castle, when he was going to pay for the legal fees to Mr. Carrigan, for legal support, to fight the company trying to build an airport and demolish and take away their homes? He famously said to Mr. Carrigan, "I pay cash." Yeah, I pay cash. I grew up in Wollongong, and I went to school with a lot of Macedonian friends. And let me tell you, my Macedonian friends always lived by this principle: I pay cash. I pay cash. It's the idea that cash is the superior asset among all other assets. It's the asset that we need to accumulate. It's the asset that we need to build reserves in. In fact, cash it's easy to liquidate. So in hard economic times, we have the money we need. Or if we have cash reserves, if opportunities come up on our life, we're able to jump on that opportunity because we have the cash that's available. Interestingly enough, about 2,000 years ago, Jesus said something very similar when concerning money. And today we're going to talk about one of Jesus' most famous teachings on money that relates to this concept that cash is indeed king. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, it says, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." And Jesus is actually saying that money wants to be a master. Money wants to be a master in your life and also my life. Money wants to have an influence on your life. Money wants to guide, and money wants to direct your life. And Jesus takes really an everyday example that people can relate to. And the people who originally first heard these words from Jesus, they understood what servanthood was. They even understood what a form of slavery was. Not the kind of slavery that infected North America for so many years, many years ago, but a form of servanthood where a person lives in a bond-servant relationship. In a bond-servant relationship, in those types of relationships, the people know that you can't have more than one master. You can't have more than one master. You can't serve more than one home. And you can't serve in more than one field. Why? Because at some point you are going to get different instructions and are going to lead towards the one, in fact, that you prefer. And so the people from an economic and also social viewpoint understood this. And you understand this too, right? Don't you? Imagine having two bosses that you had to work for. Or in the parenting world where mum and dad need to be on the same page, because if you are not on the same page, your kids have that innate ability to find the cracks, right? To find the loopholes. To find those loopholes, to find a way through. And that's why mum and dad need to show and have a united front in parenting. They need to be both on the same page. You can't serve more than two masters. Now, from Jesus' perspective, this was not a suggestion like a possibility. Like maybe it's possible to serve both God and money. He doesn't say it's going to be a challenge for us, for you to serve both God and money. Or maybe it's a possibility for you to serve both God and money. No, Jesus says you can't. Jesus says it's actually an impossibility for you and I to serve both God and also money. We just can't do it. I mean, we would like to love Jesus with all our hearts and love all of our stuff and possessions and money and get more and more stuff. But Jesus says you can't do it. That these two forces, the love of God and also the love of money, actually have two different agendas in my life and also your life. And if you try and love God and also love money, that there'll come a point in your time, in your life, there'll come a point in your life where you'll get to crossroads about who you will serve. That in the end, you'll have to make a loyalty decision. just like the rich young ruler did in his encounter with Jesus, where Jesus says, one thing you lack, go sell all your possessions and then come back and follow me. Like, it was a loyalty decision for the rich young ruler, but in the end, Scripture says he walked away despondent and with his head down. Why is Jesus so hard on money? Why does Jesus set this apart in such an extreme way? Well, because that money has a spirit and is a transferable source of power. That money is a unique source of power in our lives. It allows us to do things that nothing else allows us to do. You can make money turn into anything you want. You can make money turn into a house. You can make money turn into food. You can make money turn into a car. You can make money turn into guitars. Yeah, you can make money turn into video games. You can actually make money turn into an image, a reputation. You can make money turn into power and influence that gets stuff done in the world and changes things. Why? Because you have resources, because you have enough. But really, money, when you think about it, money is neutral. It has no morals in physical form, which I don't really carry cash around in my wallet anymore, but in physical form, pieces of paper or metal coins, it isn't bad, it isn't good or right. But as soon as it touches a human's hand, as soon as a human hand attaches itself to it, it can gain a whole life of its own. And Jesus is wise enough that this power that money gives us is like any other power in our lives. Back in the garden, in fact, in Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2, we see that God designed the garden for man to be in relationship with God and also in relationship with each other. That this, in fact, is how God designed things to be. But what often money does is the complete opposite of that. That money can make us live independent from God. Independent from God and also independent from others. Like, if you have enough money, you can say, well, really, I don't need God. All my needs are taken care of. In fact, if you have enough money, you can live independent from people, or you can use people. If you have enough money, you can live completely independent from God, if you want to, and also independent from people. Like when Adam and Eve ate the fruit in Genesis chapter 3, they were separated from God, and they were also separated from one another. And this is what the power of money can do in a person's life. Author Andy Crocus, he says this: money is the most direct rival to God in human affairs. Jesus says you can't serve God, and also the word translated is the word mammon. That if you have not been faithful with unrighteous mammon, who will trust you with true riches, Jesus says. Now, Jesus uses this word mammon. It's translated, it's the word translated in the original language. And Jesus uses the word mammon 4 times in the gospel accounts. It means placing our confidence in riches, mammon. And Jesus speaks of it and actually calls it an evil spirit. Mammon is the spirit that attaches itself to greed and desires of wealth. You cannot serve both God and the spirit of mammon. I mean, why do so many people and some Christians get so agitated and worked up about money, about gaining more, so defensive when the church talks about money? Why does money have such a huge control over and in people's lives? I'll tell you why. Because of the spirit of mammon. Mammon is the spirit's name, And it's the only time in Scripture that actually Jesus gives an evil spirit a name. Mammon whispers into people's ears, work a little harder, don't be generous, don't give to the church. Make your job and make your career and income the most important thing in your life. Don't give to the church. Don't be generous to the church. You need more and you need more. Mammon isn't the money. Mammon isn't the money, but uses money to move you in a direction away from God. Mammon seeks to gain control and then to get you to worship at the feet of mammon and the feet of money. Like, is your money surrendered to God or unsurrendered to God? Unsurrendered money is mammon, according to Jesus. Why did Judas do what he did? I mean, he regretted it almost immediately. It wasn't about really the silver coins, but that Judas had allowed the spirit of mammon to control him. What about Ananias and Sapphira? The issue was not that they kept the sale of the proceeds of the land of their property. It wasn't that they kept the money from the sale of their property. The issue was that they deceived the early church and also deceived God. Deception is also the spirit of mammon. See, watch what spirit gets attached to your money. Money talks, and money has something to say to you and I if you let it. Money is talking. And one of the things that it wants to say to us is, in fact, that cash is king. Money is talking. That if you have enough of me, you'll be okay. If you have enough of money, you'll be fine. If you get more of me, tomorrow is going to be okay. If you get enough of me, you will be happy. If you have enough of me in your life, you'll have security and you'll have freedom. And this is what money will try and tell us. Money is talking and saying that's all you need. But Jesus says you can't serve both God and money. So a question for us this morning: how would you know that if you're serving money in your life? How would I know if I'm serving money? Because I think very few of us have an altar in our home to mammon where we bow down to and worship, though you may do that with your flat screen TV, who knows. But how would I know if I'm a slave to mammon? Well, three things. You give sparingly, you save anxiously, and you spend foolishly. Like, I give, but I give, barely enough. Not that much. Really, I just tip God. But my hands are not really open-handed. I've still got one hand that's still clenched. Like, I try and save, but I save because I'm motivated more out of deep fear in my heart. Or I spend it foolishly. Like getting into debt and having withdrawal symptoms if I don't have a package turning up my doorstep from Amazon. The truth is that mammon is talking to all of us at some level. You need more, you need more, you need more. This is the language of mammon. So if money is truly talking, and mammon is this evil, demonic spirit that Jesus refers to, shouldn't we just run away from it? And shouldn't we just give all our money away and go out and live in the desert, like John the Baptist? Well, over the years, many people have thought that. Many Christians have done that and thought that, believed it, and actually done it. But in the kingdom of God, we don't run from these things. We need to confront these things. So how do you use money and our resources to advance the kingdom of God that honors God and also blesses others? That we get into a position where we can rewrite the script that the enemy wants to distort. And so Jesus gives us the warnings that you can't serve both God and money. And now he gives us the wisdom. He gives the bottom line, actually, in fact, of all of the teachings in all of the Gospels that he has on money and finances. And he teaches a lot about money. And the verse is found in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. And it says this, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." This is the bottom line where money and finances fall into our lives. Where your treasure is, there your heart is going to be also. Jesus is saying that the thing that you prize above everything else, as human beings, in fact, as human beings, we are treasurers. We just treasure things, don't we? We treasure things. We like things. We want things. We possess things. It's part of our nature that we engage on a spiritual, emotional, and psychological level with people, with positions, and with stuff and possessions. Even with reputation. We even attach ourselves spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically to activities in our lives and also hobbies. We are treasurers by nature. And we can't change that. Every single one of us are treasurers. Everybody treasures something. Everybody treasures something. Or to say it in another way, everybody worships something. Just like that you can't help but breathe, you can't help but treasure. And whatever you treasure, your heart will follow in that particular direction. Your heart means your longings, your desires, the deep longings of your soul, the things that you prioritize and the things that you organize in your life. It's the things that you think about the most, the things that you organize your life around the most, the things that you prioritize your time and life around the most. That where you set your sight, determines the direction in which you will go, in fact, in your life. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also, Jesus said. But in fact, we think that it's the opposite. We think that wherever our heart is, my treasure will follow. That whatever I'm passionate about, I'll put my money towards that thing. No, Jesus says it starts by you choosing what you will treasure. You choose, you make the decision in your life what you will treasure. Wherever your treasure is, that's where your heart and that's where your love and that's where your priorities and desires and your money will follow. That's the direction in which it will go. Like if you've been married for some time, you know this is true, right? You understand this. You know this to be true. In marriage, if you treasure the covenant of marriage, your heart will eventually follow there as well. Even right now, if it feels like you can't stand that person. If you treasure the covenant of marriage, your heart will follow. It will follow in that direction. If you commit to a particular thing, eventually your heart and eventually your desires and your joys and everything will follow along with it. Like getting up to boot camp, right? In the dead of winter. If you commit to it long enough, soon enough, your body is going to follow. Trust me. And this is what Jesus is helping us understand right here. Our focus will determine our destination. And the question remains this morning, am I being influenced by the Spirit of God and the spirit of mammon at the very same time? Well, what's a good way to know if that's the case? Where is your treasure right now? What are the things that bring me joy? What are the things that bring me peace? What are the things that brings me stress in my life? What are the things that makes me organize my life and my calendar in a particular way? What are my priorities in a particular way? What is it, that thing that is guiding and leading your life? Just like you can ask 3 questions to see if you are serving mammon, there are also 3 questions to ask yourself to see if you're serving God. And here they are. Do I give generously? Do I save diligently? Do I spend wisely? That, like, you are able to say, yeah, giving is a joy. That giving is a joy to my heart. Like, I love to give. You'll say, I love to give and tithe to Devonport Church of Christ. Yeah, look, I'm always on the lookout to be generous. I'm always on the lookout to look for an opportunity to have an open hand and to bless somebody or to get behind a cause. I'm looking to be generous. And I'm so grateful for so many of you here in the church who have been so generous to God's work here over many, many years and many, many projects. If you are new to our church this morning, or if you've just walked into the church for the first time, do you know that the building that you walked into this morning, somebody paid for it? In fact, the chair that you're sitting in today, somebody paid for that as well. The government never. It's the people's sacrifice, excuse me, and generosity. You might say, when you answer these questions, you might say, like, I save now, but not out of fear, but now I'm saving because of wisdom. I'm being wise, saving, but I'm not worrying. Well, how do I spend my money? Like, do I stick to a budget? Like, if you want to know, do I serve both God and mammon? You should ask somebody who knows you really well. Ask them, how do I give? How do I save? How do I spend? Because trust me, I know that the enemy wants you to keep these things secret. He wants you to keep it in the dark. He wants you to keep it in that secret place, in the private. But when you bring it out into the light, when you bring it out of that secret place, because the enemy always operates in the secret place. And for most people, we don't like talking about finances. Most people don't like talking about it. And that's why so many people don't like the church talking about money, because they say, hey, Pastor, let me tell you something. That's my private world and it's none of your business. And I would say to you that if you're a Christian, it's God's business. This week is the end of the financial year, and it's always a good time to reflect and prepare for the upcoming new financial year. We do our tax returns, don't we? And we visit our accountants for our tax purposes. But can I exhort you today to do a revision of your generosity as you approach the end of the financial year and embark upon the new one? Maybe you need to revise your giving to the church. Are you being generous or are you being stingy? In fact, does your giving align with CPI increases from your employer? Have you received a raise from your employer? Even just from your employer, but I'm going to say also Centrelink. Business owners, is it now the time to sow back in to God's work at His local church from the profits of your harvest from the past financial year? That this past financial year, have I served God or have I served mammon? Money is talking, friends. Money is talking. But Jesus wants us to know that He is enough, that He is our security, and our future is secure and found in only Him. Blessings and peace to you today, and I'll see you in person next week. God bless.